It is finally time to admit that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the most fraudulent team in the NFL, and people are finally figuring it out. Now, I tried to warn Pittsburgh fans at the beginning of the season, and nobody wanted to listen to me. It was just criticism in my comments and people getting upset with me, saying that I was biased against the Steelers. But at the end of the day, the colors are finally being shown. They've lost 3 straight games to playoff teams, and it's clear that the Pittsburgh Steelers are not built to go out and win a Super Bowl. And that's been clear since day one to me, but it's finally being shown to people. I saw this roster as a team that was great defensively. They've been great defensively over the past few seasons, and that's what I saw coming into this year. But how would the additions of Justin Fields and Russell Wilson really change this offense? I didn't think it would make a major difference, and it really hasn't. There was a short-term stint where people were excited about Justin Fields, but Russell Wilson got healthy enough, and that's what led Mike Tomlin to make this switch to see if Russell Wilson could give this team a truly higher ceiling than Justin Fields did, and that's what he did when they were playing non-contending teams. They beat down on the Jets bad, they beat down on the Giants bad, and they beat down on the Commanders bad and squeaked out a win against the Ravens, and I thought that was the end of the road. Well, we saw them have a thrilling victory against the Bengals where they put up 44 points, and people were saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers were ready to make a Super Bowl run, but we've seen 4 bad straight weeks in a row for the Steelers offensively, and it's just not come against bad teams. It's come against playoff caliber opponents. You look at the Steelers, 0-3 in their last 3 games. This is the 5th time in the last 7 years in the Mike Tomlin era that they've lost 3 straight games after Thanksgiving. You look at the Eagles, they go on the road and lose to them, only put up 13 points. Then the following week, they go on the road and play the Ravens and get embarrassed defensively and offensively, only put up 17 points and give up 34 points to this great defense. And then you look at the Chiefs on Christmas Day. This seems to be the cherry on top. They only scored 10 points, and the Chiefs do whatever they want offensively, and that's why I'm scratching my head with this Pittsburgh team, because this team was supposed to be so great defensively, and it was like if the offense could just figure it out a little bit, they could make a run. And this offense has just been so mediocre in my opinion, and I don't think Russell Wilson is going to be the quarterback of the future. We already have people talking about that right now, but I just think this team needs something else. I originally thought the offense was playing bad because they didn't have George Pickens, and that's why they originally weren't playing that well, but Pickens was back in the lineup and they played even worse. You look at this 3-game stretch, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, they only averaged 10 points per game in this stretch, and now they're going to play the Bengals here in 11 days that might determine whether Cincinnati makes the postseason or not. But right now, I have no faith in this Pittsburgh team moving forward. I don't think they're good enough to go win a Super Bowl. I don't think this offense is good enough to go out there and even win a first-round playoff game, as a matter of fact. And I said the same thing last year. I said the same thing this season. Last year, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were so great defensively, but at the end of the day, this offense wasn't good enough, and they barely snuck into the postseason, and they were able to get a little bit of plays from Mason Rudolph. This running game was good with Najee Harris, but not great. And at the end of the day, Buffalo dominated them in the first round of the playoffs, and it was back to, okay, well, Mike Tomlin's getting us winning seasons. He's never had a losing season. And if you want to look at Mike Tomlin, because there's a lot of fingers that are being pointed at him right now, he's the longest active head coach without a playoff win, because at the end of the day, you're getting fired if you're not winning playoff games. But right now, Mike Tomlin has the longest active streak without a playoff win, and it's unacceptable if I were a Pittsburgh fan. And we now see that this team is 10-6. They've completely coughed up the division lead, where at one point they had like a 90% chance to win it, and now they get Cincinnati at the last game of the year. But it looks like they're going to be in the wild card yet again, trying to fight for a postseason run. And I look at the AFC, I look at the Kansas City Chiefs at the top, who just dominated them. I look at the Buffalo Bills, I think are on another tier than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I look at the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're also on another tier over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And right now, those are the 3 teams to beat, and I don't think Pittsburgh is anywhere close to either 3 of them. And right now, if the postseason were to start, they would play Houston in the first round, which I think they would beat them. But at the end of the day, Pittsburgh wants to go out there and win a Super Bowl. I've been hearing about that all season long, how this defense is good enough with TJ Watt, with Alex Highsmith, with Minkah Fitzpatrick, with Cam Hayward, with all of these guys, that they are good enough to go out there and win a Super Bowl because their defense is so good. And now Russell Wilson and this offense have finally turned it up. George Pickens has unlocked this passing game. Russell Wilson has looked so great to him down the field, and it's just completely turned off the past 4 weeks. And now we see what happens when they're finally playing real contenders. They've completely fallen apart. Go through their schedule. They beat the Chargers week 3, when Justin Herbert got hurt in the second half. They beat the Commanders on the road by 1 point, but at one point they were down 10 points. They beat Baltimore off of just kicking field goals. Then they got beat by the Eagles by 2 touchdowns. They got beat by the Ravens again by 14 points. And then they lost to the Chiefs by 19 points. And that's what I was worried about this team, because they were 10-3 and everyone was super excited about the Steelers. Look at this 10-3 record, but they really hadn't had any dominant wins. And that was just like when they were 11-0 a few years ago and everyone was so excited about the Steelers. And I tried to say the same exact thing. And they would go on to lose in the first round. They lose in the first round last year. It's the same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. When are people going to figure it out? I think you have to be super frustrated if you're a Pittsburgh fan with just having winning seasons, with never being good enough, with knowing that you're not good enough to beat the top competition, but yet you're good enough to beat down on the bad opponents. And that's almost just like the Dallas Cowboys at that point. The Steelers are becoming the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. And if you want to make the excuse that the Steelers played 3 games in 11 days, okay, that's fine. The Ravens and Chiefs also did the same exact thing, and they each went 3-0 in that stretch, and the Steelers went 0-3. There are no more excuses for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is time to admit that they are an above-average team and nothing more than that. This offense is not good enough to go out there and win a Super Bowl. This defense is not good enough to go out there and win a Super Bowl. And there's going to be a lot of head-scratching that's going to be done if this Pittsburgh team makes it into the first round and gets eliminated. But we finally see the true colors of the Pittsburgh Steelers and what this team can truly do at its peak. I'm Caden Kubler, and thanks for watching.